Hello, everyone. Thank you all for being here. The discussion about theater, sustainability, and the Stages project. And this panel discussion is organized by the International Online Theater Festival with the Theater Times in collaboration with the European Theater Convention and MetaLab. My name is Ilinca Todorut. I am the director of the International Online Theater Festival, and it is truly my pleasure to be here with this group of 5 amazing people who have all worked on this Stages project. Now I will not introduce our panelists. I'm just going to ask you all to introduce yourselves the first time you speak. We have these big questions that we want to discuss about sustainability, but first of all, I would like to just go around and give the groundworks of this really interesting project, staging Miranda Rose Hall play that you all staged in different theaters in your theaters. So first, I think I'm just going to ask Serge to quickly give us the vision for this project. Then I'm going to pass it on to Jin and Tristan to speak as producers from an institutional level, and then Eugenio and Anica to talk about this collaboration between artists and scientists that this project asked you to do. All right, sounds good. And then we move on to an open discussion. So Serge, there's a video posted on the International Online Theater Festival website where you did an excellent job. In 10 minutes, you described this theater project, the Stages project, and now can you do the same thing in 2 minutes?
Oh my God, a challenge. No, thanks a lot. Yes, first of all, we have to say and to tell the story, because between in
Serge,
the middle.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Could you first tell us a little bit about yourself? Can you introduce yourself?
Yes, certainly. So my name is Serge Rangoni. I'm general manager and artistic director of the Théâtre de Liège in Belgium, French-speaking part of Belgium, very close to border of Netherlands and Luxembourg and France. We have a programming very connected with Europe and with different colleagues in Europe. And I'm also president of ETC, European Theatre Convention. During the COVID, obviously, everybody was stopped, completely stopped, and so we thought this is the moment to reflect what we can do for sustainability. And we had some talks with colleagues in different countries, especially with Vidi Lausanne, with Vincent Baudrier, but also with a colleague in France and even in Taiwan. The idea to share together a project come from there. And so we decided to build a project about, first of all, our building. What can we do? What can we do better? Secondly, also about the production. And so we embrace the project of Vidi Lausanne, but probably Tristan will speak a little bit in detail of this project, no travel project. And also we use a tool developed in Lausanne, a tool for to analyze the theater, each theater on the way of sustainability. I have to say that quickly we decided also to take the part of to take the 17 goals of sustainability from the United Nations and not social also inclusion, and this is, I think, in our field extremely relevant. I will not be, after we can enter in some details.
Thank you. And these are the huge stakes of this project. Thank you very much. And maybe Tristan and Jen, you can pick it up from here and tell us from an institutional point of view, what were the challenges for your theaters to take on this touring model? Maybe tell us a little bit more about this touring model. I'd also be interested to hear how this project, which has this global framework, how did you have to adapt it to your local scene? And yeah.
Hi, my name is Tristan Panatier. I'm a producer at the Théâtre Vidi Lausanne. And together with the artists Katie Mitchell and Jerome Bell, we developed and produced this project that we called first No Travel, but which then became Sustainable Theatre. And this project has been integrated into the wider European Stages project, which Serge talked about, and received like a bigger visibility. And the idea of this project, Sustainable Theatre, was to address sustainability both on stage, but also in the way that a piece is produced, and see how could we experiment new ways of doing. And it's in this frame that we had the idea as a starting rule of the game to make a production, an international production that will be produced and that will be touring without anybody or anything traveling. And so we were, of course, forced to rethink our usual model because we are producing and touring theater. We are touring a lot, bringing our shows, our teams, our material all through Europe. And we had this project where we had, together with all our team and with all the partners, to try to do things differently and to think about how can we include sustainability into our practices, and just try to analyze at the same time how stand our practices on the spectrum of sustainability. So that was quite challenging to approach this new approach of first analyzing everything that we were doing and then trying to think of other ways and trying to implement them and because we know that institutions are like sometimes they are not so agile as could be like smaller structures, and yeah, it takes time, it takes a lot of resources. So it was a challenge, but it was what we aimed with this project.
I would like to hear more about these challenges, particularly because I think some of them are very frustrating, but some of them are very exciting at the same time, and maybe frustrating, exciting, and together. Because as you said, I think the institutions have such, they have a standardized way of doing things, which is great because that's how institution functions. But I think this project really challenged a lot of more working models that we had. Jin, how was it for your theater?
Yeah. Let me introduce myself. I'm Jing, and I'm a producer of a play for living in a time of extinction in Taiwan. And I would like to talk about the process of staging the recreation in our theater. And as you may know, National Theatre and Concert Hall is the first and only venue in Asia to participate in this sustainable project. And we want to think about our sustainability approach as well. In the process of localizing the production, and our team had some discussion during the early stage. Since sustainability in this script is a Western concept, it may represent a position of dominance and be dominated that are not quite equal. However, looking back to the original intention of this artistic action, what we want to do much more is how to open up the dialogues on various of aspects of sustainable production, including the contents, the story, and the stage prop, the selection of the materials, the flipping of design thinking, and the care for different ethnic groups. We also hope that with this green production and we can build a working model so other groups and teams in Taiwan who are interested in creating sustainable production can also adapt to it. About the localizing process, and we invited Taiwanese director, Lin Xingyi, who is very aware and conscious of various issues over the years to direct this local work. And she's also the one who adapted this script. Concerning the script, we include local ecological context into it, which is coexistence. It is actually a long-term idea and a concept that is available in our local culture, especially in the indigenous culture. Indigenous community in Taiwan are closely connected to the natural environment and the natural ecosystem, and they always coexist with the ecosystem. And with this connection, when it's come to the selection of the female role, I mean the role, it is worth mentioning that Taiwan is actually an immigrant society with the immigrants from Guangdong and South Fujian in China, the indigenous people, Han people from various provinces in China, and new immigrants, etc. Compared to other ethnic groups, the indigenous people account for a minority of the population who also have a very deepest connection to Taiwan. So after discussing with our director, we decided to bring a female actress who called Sayun from the Ataya tribe, which is an indigenous community in Taiwan. And she's also a writer and play a role in adapting this script as well. And we hope to use her personal life experience to narrate how a contemporary indigenous woman standing on the land perceived the relation between herself, other species, and the environment. And we also raise questions about environmental injustice in Taiwan through a case study of the Asia cement mining site in Sholing Township, which is located in eastern Taiwan. And we want to talk about the inequality between different communities in Taiwan. Well, moreover, we integrate the text setting to tell the story together. Like on stage, the cyclists on both sides paddle the bicycle to generate electricity, and the actress every move and the continuous paddling of the cyclist on the bicycle are closely related. We took this stage itself as an ecosystem, and the interaction of each one on the stage shape the environmental during the production process and performance. Well, can I talk more? Yeah, I mean, I would like to talk about the challenge that we met during the localization. Mm-hmm. The process.
Really, I think your theater did came up with a very good solution when you were talking about an indigenous actress that you had. And maybe for our audience, I mean, I hope that most of our audience has watched the 5 theater production of Miranda Rose Hall play, Play for the Living in a Time of Extinction, which you're all staging in stages. So I hope our listeners know what it is, but just to go a little bit back, it is a play, it is a monologue for one actress. And in this touring model, different theaters can take this play, but Miranda only had a few requirements. 1, for this actress to be a person of color, and 2, the electricity to be generated for the play during the play. And that will be the next question that we're going to discuss. But so there's a monologue by one actress who was talking about the 6th mass extinction in a very interesting way. And I think that maybe this touring model can also be a model of touring dramaturgy, because in this project you had a lot of freedom to work with the script, to adapt with script, and Anica did some really interesting things in her staging too. Serge, do you want to add something?
Yes, first of all, I have to say it's not a model. It's absolutely not a model. I think that it's an experiment, and so which we we can find different things and we can share different experiences, but it's absolutely not a model. I think if tomorrow we say that we cannot tour anymore, that means that we exclude one very big part of the world. And you remember very strong words pronounced by some artists from South America or from Africa, because they depend essentially about from touring. And secondly, I think that if we don't tour anymore, we have no more contact between us. So it's not a model at all. Maybe it's give, and it was very interesting that it was said we were in Taipei, in National Theatre in Taipei some days ago, and what was said, it was very interesting also for us. It was the same reflection that doing this experiment with a low possibility to use to use means of light and sound, you understand how much you take or how much you need for other shows. So it gives you some point of view different, but we cannot generalize and say this is the way to do it. And I think that it's not that what want to say VD and Tristan, not at all.
Great, thank you for this intervention, Serge. Really appreciate it. Jin, how did you want to continue?
Oh, you mean?
Jin, if you had, I didn't want to know if you had anything else to say, because
I just mentioned I would like to talk about the challenge that we met during the localization process.
Sure.
Is the electric power consumption limit, I mean the 115 watts. And that's really changed the designers' working habits.
Yeah,
for
I think this was a challenge, a challenge launched in this project within HEAD. And I think this is an excellent segue to move on to Anica and Eugenio, who had to deal with this challenge and had to collaborate. Anica is a director and Eugenio is a scientist, so I would like them to start the discussion about the collaboration that they had to do for staging this play, and how did that work. And I'm interested to find out from their perspective if they found out different ways about how this collaboration can work better, and what they did, and so on. So, Jen, if you don't mind, we'll pass it on. Is that okay?
Oh yeah, I just want to say one example. Like our lighting designers say that talk about the light. She say that traditional lamp is in theater require around 750 to 1,000 watts per lamp, while the new LED lights are more energy efficient. Each bulb still require 150 watts. And at first, she didn't believe that she could accomplish this show with only 150 watts. However, she still took this test because she wanted to try. So in order to maximize light efficiency, she also attached the bulb to a water-filled plastic bottle for focusing, and through several workshops, select the best reflective material from various types of paper. So that's how she presents on the stage. Yeah, so in conclusion, that in the past, the production budget was used to rent lamps, and the effort didn't require so much manpower and time. But this attempt made our team aware of the use of electricity. Yeah, I think that's what I want to share.
Yeah, thank you. And I think that even with these limitations, is amazing. I watched the videos. It's amazing how good these stages, these productions look, even with all these limitations. So how did you make it? How was it possible? Like, Anica, what did you do?
So hello to everyone. I'm Anica Tomić. I'm Croatian theater director and professor on Academy for Culture in Osijek. And I'm the part of this really great project, and I'm very thankful. It was a big challenge, but on the end, we did it. So first, I just want to say a few sentences about how we did it, because when I watch and read the play and all this idea, it was like, wow, it was like turning back to my childhood. In ex-Yugoslavia, I remember one of my neighbor was a crazy amateur science who was always building some kind of crazy technical things. And one of the things was the bicycle. And we were all like children running there, trying to ride this bicycle. And he was saying to us, you will see now, I will put electricity in this lamp. And it was working. And that was the first time when I was a child, when I saw this. And because I really don't know anything about the physics and mathematics, and it was for me totally craziness, how it's working, how is that possible? And then when I was invited to be one of the directors of the show, I was thinking, oh my God, is this lamp? And this lamp will be working, and we will have all electricity and the bit of projections and everything on the stage. How we will do it? And it, for me, was great, because I really, all my life, especially when I'm working on the performance, who are somehow engaged with the marginalized groups and problems. And also I'm working on the classical text, but for me it's always the challenge, this technology on the stage and how it's working. So the first thing for me was also, which was very important, and Tristan is here and he will know, because in Croatia and this ex-Yugoslavia, we do not have the professional African black actors. We do not have them. And I was like really worried up what I will do, because one of the main questions was what is our problem and how to do this adaptation for the specific circumstances we are living on. And one of our biggest problems, for example, now in this part of East Europe, is the dealing with the social, and there is a lot of poor people around us. And in the same time, on the borders, these are the immigrants who are standing, and a lot of these immigrants are, of course, the children. So my first idea and my suggestion was that maybe we can think what will happen if we do this performance only with the children, and that I try to find on an audition the girls who are really specific, and who, first of all, okay, they are young, but somehow, you know, these young people, 13 teenagers, they really understand this sometimes better than we adults, because their future is what we are doing now. And for me, it was very interesting, because also I remember this young, she was then young, when the Greta Thunberg, she was then a little girl, was passionately addressed to United Nations, and she was screaming, how dare you, how dare you? And somehow in this text, I recognize this. How dare you to ruin everything? How dare you to not respect the people who are around you? How dare you to not be inclusive for the others, and etc., etc. And then I spoke with the Miranda and with the Katie. We have Zoom, and I said to them, because I really like this text and the concept and all this great idea, and I asked them, is that possible? And we were talking a lot, and somehow we a little bit adapted this text, because there is a lot of saying about the death and stuff which are maybe not so appropriate for the children, but somehow the idea is the same. So it was a big audition in Zagreb, and a lot of young girls come, and there was a lot of little colored girls who would come on audition. And my first question was not if they know how to acting. No, I just start to speak with them, to see and feel them and what they are really think about this, because, you know, these children for 15 years will be the adults, and we will be old people, and their future it depends on every step we do today. And this performance and this play and this project is a really important step in our cultural production for the theater. And I'm really appreciate I'm the part of it. So 12-year-old Naomi Temitope Okoli, she's originally from Nigeria, and it was fascinating because she is a child of economic immigrants, and she was living in Croatia only 3 years, but she was perfectly speaking Croatian. It was like, I was, oh my God, this is possible, because our language is really, really hard. And she was talking with me on audition about this coming disaster. And she was talking, and it was crazy about this class and a racial difference, because she is a girl and she is young, but she feels that she somehow is a different. And another case, the other girl, because they were changing, because it's too hard for one little girl to play all monologue, was 30 years old Eva Markulin. She's from Zagreb. And she said to me on audition, but you know what, Anica, I haven't done enough for the earth. And she was 13 years old. And I was like, wow, what is this? Is this happening really? And I immediately asked them and their parents to state. But you know, one more thing before we going on the step about this challenge, about the electricity and other things, I just want to say one thing, what was for me really sustainable in this performance we done, you know, with all children, and the chorus was the children and the young guys who are training the football, and the were riding the bicycles. But the most beautiful thing for me was that 2 days before premiere, the mother of the Naomi, she come to me and say to me, they will deport me from the country and cannot anymore. And then we done everything which we can somehow to find a job for her in Croatia, and that she get this working license, and to put and include her again in the society. And this is for me also sustainability. It is like caring for the other. This project really done that for this family, because Naomi is not alone. She has a brother and a sister. So this is really important. How we can be empathy to the other. And this project done this, you know, because if this didn't happen, if Naomi wasn't in the performance, I will never know about their problems, and I will never can to help them. So that was a really great sustainable thing, that we really include people and that we solve their problems all together. So that is the part about the thing which happened in Zagreb. And again, thank you all because you are here now, because I think it's really big topic. And I think this topic will, if you don't, how to say, deal with her, we will probably, she will run and she will try to catch us. So I think that is the last moment that all we together, the science, the technicians, we who are the cultural workers, try to rethink again what we could do, how we will deal it. And this project is really one great thing to start. So this is for the beginning.
Thank you, Anica, and thank you for telling us this really harrowing story about your actress and your actress's family. And I think that both you and the theater in Taiwan found really the relevance of this demand from Miranda's text, the local relevance, because the point of having an actress that is an actress of color is because the most vulnerable population will be the ones hit most by the impact of the climate crisis, and we're going to have increasingly more climate refugees. And so I think that you've really connected it very well with your local context like that. Thank you. And Anica, you've asked some like huge questions, and I really want to get at them, but I also want to hear from Eugenio first about how he collaborated on this project. And
thank you, Ilinca. Hi, everyone, and thanks for inviting me. And also, I have to thank Piccolo Théâtre d'Europa from Milan, Italy. I'm presenting on their behalf because I had this opportunity to facilitate the self-analysis process of stages. So I've been working in the past 8 months with the theater, having more than 9 workshops and side events. We collected more than 100 actions from the staff and as many suggestions. So I have to say, from an external point of view, from the theater, it was a great occasion also to revise some of my expertise, because I'm teacher in urban planning and design, and specialized in sustainability and sustainability governance. And working with the theater, it gave me this wider spectrum of complexity that the theater as a living machine has to work with, because the theater is made of many things, so spaces, infrastructure, equipment, people, and works in different ways at different scales, at the scale of the theater, at the scale of the community, and the wider scale of society. I have to say, like the message, the wider message that the theater can give to society, so the cultural messages. And so, like, what is the difference of working as a scientist on this topic with a theater? What is the value added by the theater? And I think it complexifies, as Serge was saying, that it's of course we have a wide spectrum covering all the 17 SDGs, the social and environmental issues, but then when it comes to accountability, how to measure everything in a very quantitative way, some messages that are so important, and that the theater, as we heard from previous stories, that the theater can give in terms of inclusion and also, yeah, inspirational messages, how to take into account that, how to turn these into quantitative parameters. So maybe that's not as relevant. So we have to change the way we think about accountability in a theater, and because creativity shouldn't have limitations in terms of how to save emissions, how to reduce entropy. Of course, that's important, and we need a special sensitivity, but then how to measure exactly what we were discussing before, like, is touring something we should avoid? I don't think so as well. And so we need this kind of keeping this flexibility and way of also dealing with emotions and empathy that the theater brings in. So a lot of interesting thoughts emerged during this months of work with the theater. And also I guess this idea of working together, science and art, with different levels of empathy and different levels of emotions that we can bring in. So we learn it from each other, how we basically work with emotions in different ways, because science can also bring emotions, of course, but art does as well. And I think rethinking the role of theater in society might be something that through Stages project might also be the case, because really I think as a central hub in society, in cities, theaters can really be a knowledge hub where creativity can be exchanged in different ways. So I really believe that we need a different way of dealing with the sustainability and accountability of sustainability when it comes to theater. So this is what we are discussing right now when it comes to actions, because, you know, like, we have different scales, but we have also different practices in a theater. We have the staff in the theater, daily practices, but then we have a lot of special practices and unexpected flexible conditions that happen all the time in such a creative environment. And the special conditions, I think, are also hard to grasp and to account. And so I think we really need a different kind of framework for sustainability governance in theater. Maybe I can stop here, but then maybe we can discuss further this topic.
Yeah, thank you, Eugenia. I think that's exactly the direction in which I want us to open the discussion right now for everyone. And Anica already started that. And like, what can the theater do in the era of the 6 max extinction? Like, what can we do? I'm interested if this project has, I think it has given you all a vision of potentially different things that the theater can do, and how can we reposition ourselves, how we can contribute maybe to certain changes. And I'm also interested in how Eugenio just mentioned this notion of sustainability. I think that working on this project really questions this notion of sustainability. Like, what even is it? Is it even a good word that we want? I mean, a word that we want to keep on using? Is it about our goal is to help make certain practices, cultural, social, economical, more sustainable, or is it to help see how they are inherently unsustainable and move towards something else? So huge questions, but I think these are the most important questions. In the era of climate catastrophe, this is very important to discuss, and I don't want to run away from the hard questions. And I think you've all already thought and dealt with them yourselves. So I'm really interested in what are your thoughts?
So I think that it's very interesting, because usually we from the artistic, we are not normally every day speaking with the science or the people who are really deep in that. And I think that one of the first steps should be maybe much more collaborate, because somehow sometimes you get an idea from something you don't, because we do not know a lot about it. And this example with the bicycles and with the electricity is really possible. And it was very funny because the public, after the performance, they were starting to ask me, is this really true? They're really producing this only from this and this projection also? I say yes. And then because I knew that will be happen, and I say to the FIS, he was my technical director, we are old friends, and we also has a person who was dealing only with the bicycles. And I said to them, guys, you listen to me, we should put one more bicycle in front of the theater for the public. With electricity, because I knew it, that they will ask me, is that possible? And then after every performance, they were like, the public also was riding the bicycle, and they saw it, that it's really possible. And also I suggest to my technical director that we also, for the public, that we, after the performance, put the electricity from the bicycle to the old gramophone, you know, because it's not a lot of power, so that this gramophone can working and that music can go out, so that the public can really see, because if they're stopped to right, everything will stop. And that was, for me, was always interesting to speak with the public after the shows, because for them, somehow they see these accumulators on the stage, they see that watts on the display, and everything is very close to them, but somehow they had a need to come near after the performance and to touch everything and to feel what is this, how it's working. And after that, when they were leaving the theater, they could also do this. So I think that this communication between the public and their understanding why we are doing this, with the big, very important content of the play, somehow connection, the public content of the play, and also the performance and all the play, somehow on the end are doing these big steps for all community, because I think that the community somehow is the further target of all us, like cultural workers, because it's not only the public, but somehow we are also dealing with the problem. And I'm not sure, I don't know how it's in your countries, but I'm not sure how regularly are people really understand what is sustainable, because in the first association, now we have this first day of sustainability on the academy, and when I ask my students what is that, they're not sure, because the first association is, but it's something connect with the planet. But I said, yes, but what is that? and how we are participating in it and what you can do for it. So maybe that's my suggestion, maybe we can find some ways that we regularly speak with the science and that we really try to find out what is a possibility. Because, you know, if this didn't happen, I never knew that could happen on the end. So I think that will be a big challenge. So maybe this is a good suggestion, that we really start to be, that we engage each other, and that the science is also the part and technicians of our rethinking for the cultural and the future things, which will be maybe doing some near future, or maybe what we will leave to our children, so they will develop later on.
I totally agree with what Anica just said. Like, theaters are really places of meetings, of experimentation, where different kinds of people, audience, citizens, scientists, artists, can meet together and share the same place and the same time for a moment. And yeah, I think that's really one of the key functions that the theaters can play to accompany these changes that need to be made. And you mentioned in particular the collaboration with scientists. And for us, when we developed the project, we collaborated with a scientist from the University of Lausanne. And this collaboration was very a key aspect in developing our project. Because when we started the project, we really had, with Jerome and Katie, a very narrow notion of sustainability. We focused on electricity, carbon footprint, light, energy, and so on. And we thought of project on that. And when we talked about a project to the scientists and say, we're going to make something with bags and all that, they say, oh yeah, that's interesting, but you know, sustainability is much more than only carbon footprint. There are, I mean, first, environment is more than just carbon. There is about climate change, about oceans and all that. But beside the environmental aspect, there are social and economical issues that are just as important. And so it's very, very wide notion, sustainability. Sustainability for them was to be below the planetary boundaries, while being at the same time above the social minima. So you had to combine these two different aspects. And sometimes they even get in contradiction. So that makes the thing quite complex and quite complicated. And you spoke about the challenge and the frustration. Maybe one challenge was how can we, with one project, address every aspect of the sustainability? And it's not possible. So there comes some frustration, but still to keep in mind that, yeah, there are all these different aspects that need to be combined, and it's not easy. So there's maybe not just one solution for every situation, for every context, but try to be aware of these different impacts and tensions. That was very, very important for us, and very enlightening to hear this perspective. So that's really an example of how this collaboration with scientists totally changed our perspective on this notion.
If I might add to what Tristan just said, I totally agree. And again, sustainability is not only about carbon offsetting, and what Anica was saying also, that this dialogue with science, and I add that not only with the hard science of accountability of sustainability, but also social sciences, transition science, how to make this process and this construction of the new vision for sustainability something that it's shared by the theater as a community. So that's also science, how we can support this process, this pathway. Sometimes it's even more important than the results. So it's more about how to get people involved, all the people. And in theater, we have very different type of communities. We have the staff, we have artists, we have the audience, and which makes things complicated, of course, but then it's also a big resource that we have such a variety, and each of these members can do something as individuals, as communities, in a collaborative way. But so I think what our experience was in Piccolo, there was this really, first of all, baseline, which was given by the direction to be very open, also to share this vision, to make sure that everybody could freely say something and propose something. And this listening part was very much appreciated, that everybody can say, everybody can freely speak and propose. And I think that's the first step we all need, because sustainability cannot come just top down and say, okay, you have to save energy, you have to do this and this and this. But it's something we have to build together. And this requires also kind of science.
If I just say one word, it was really beautiful when Eugenio said this empathy in science, which is going out through the art, because you should have a lot of passion to rethink the science things and then to transform them somehow in this artistic language. And I think that this connection between these nice levels of understanding is some nice future we can do together, and including all people who are vulnerable, who are maybe not so directly connected like an artist or like a science, but somehow to feel and understand what will be our next step. And my question, Ilinca, when we were talking and prepared this, was what is our next step when we finish this? So I think that we should go on with this and try to get much more further in this rethinking of the future, which is happening now. Unfortunately, it's always, the future is always happening now. So we are somehow now rebuilding this future. And I think that maybe also some open I don't know, document or what, some initiativa where the others also, after the looking all the shows and the thinking about what is it, maybe can suggest, and maybe we can try to find this space with a lot of different voices and try to see what and how we can go on the next step, because I think it's a word to somehow fight for this future through the culture.
Yeah, I think I do agree. Anita said, the rule of theater is to help us confront and grapple with the complex and urgent environmental and social issue that we face as a global civilization. Yes, and the theater can raise awareness, inspire empathy and action, serve as a platform for imagining and envisioning a more sustainable and just world. So it's also bring a major change that we can create and support theater that explicitly address the issue, that we can also advocate for policy and action that address the root cause of the problem we face. Yeah.
If I can add something, it happened during one of the workshops that artists said, like, but we cannot be in kind of let's say communication device for science only. So it's not just that we are a mean for a sort of sustainability propaganda where we have to integrate in our shows sustainability messages. That's not the way theater wants to be used. So I think that's why we need a deeper collaboration. And from let's say from a scientist's point of view, we always say, okay, well, science is not good enough in disseminating messages to people. Why the theater doesn't do it for us? But that's not the way we should intend this collaboration. We should develop together content, not just think that the theater is a vehicle for our message, for our message. I mean, for science messages. And I think it's we have to go a bit deeper into the best ways of of making this co-creation of new messages happen. And so I think, I don't know if you also had the same impression.
Yeah, that's true. And I just want to say what is on the end the best, because after every performance, and that was so touchable for me, because I didn't expect that, really, you know, the public was crying. And on the end, they forget everything, you know, that the electricity is riding, that these girls are the babies, that, you know, it was like a really touchable thing for the people in these untouchable weathers. You know, people come there and they didn't expect anything. They didn't know what they will look on the end, you know. And on the end of the performance, somehow all the science, art, the great text of Miranda, everything was somehow do this and put just this nice message and touch this public in their heart. And they didn't want to go home, you know, on the end. They want to discuss. There was really, like I said to you, they wanted to drive these bicycles. They want to touch, they want to speak, what we can do, what we can do. For me, that was the best things on the end, you know, that we move something in the public. And it was, wow.
That's great. And
you know, the science, technique, art, we succeeded. It's not important, you know, how we did it, but somehow in this collaboration, everything do this, and on the end, it's something really beautiful on the stage.
I'm sorry, when you were talking, and Eugenia, when you were talking also about, and actually Tristan, but the thing with the bikes, I think that. And how the public was like, oh, just the bikes, is the electricity really produced there with the bikes? I was like, yeah, it is. Because I think what Miranda is trying to do with that is that in our civilization was like, oh no, we cannot do without fossil fuels. Like everything, we need energy, everything works with energy, everything. And in our theaters too, oh no, without that much energy, oh, without the lights. And Jin said like how much electricity is those lights, and then it asks you to not use that. And it was possible, and you did it, and the public was like, wow, it's possible. So it really made like a click, I hope, in people's minds like that. And I love how everyone is talking about the theater helping to change the story, how the theater like is a way of producing a certain type of knowledge too, that together with other types of knowledge from science and other types of knowledge from can all work together to create maybe something totally new and different. And I just read the news yesterday about, I don't know, if you heard that there's this film like how to blow up a pipeline that was made after a book by Andreas Malm. And there's this book and this movie now that's talking how the diplomacy, the usual diplomatic measures of how to solve the climate catastrophe is not working. And it's like, you know, go people, and how to blow up a pipeline. And the FBI issued a warning that this film that is now launching in movies, they're afraid that people are going to let go and take some measures. And for me, like this story that the FBI was so afraid, it just shows me like the power of art, and how like theater and art and film can really do a lot. And I think that we sometimes forget like how much we can actually do. Talking about next steps and everything. Yeah. I don't know where. Okay, I don't know if you want to. We're almost at the end of our time. And if there's anything in your minds that you would like to share now as we wrap up, perhaps.
Well, maybe I had another comment, since we are talking about accountability, and we are in a international online theater festival, also about the environmental impact of online practices. As we said, like touring still important. We still need to travel, we still need to exchange physically our ideas. And also what happened in our discussions is like this idea of that everything we turn into digital, that's more environmental friendly, but that's not, at least nowadays, that environmental impact of technology, of digital technology, is becoming higher and higher, and this is a kind of invisible dimension that we all forget. So also the way we continuously and more use digital technologies for posting, for sending messages, emails, and the way the theater uses also these technologies, I think it's like the same step we did with paperless policy. So probably we should also saying something like, before posting, think about the environment, that it has we pay something for all the digital activities we do. Or why don't we substitute the printouts, the posters, with digital monitors? That's also as a price, more than paper actually, to have monitors on walls working 24/7. So I think there are also invisible aspects of technology that we have to take into account. Maybe in the future, all digital technology and digital impact will be green, but for now it's not based on renewables. So that's another point which is important to consider.
Yeah, I think that going all digital is one temptation to answer the problem that we had with theaters, especially during the pandemics. Another temptations could be to say, okay, let's go all local. We just stop touring, we stop cultural exchanges, so we'll like reduce carbon footprint. But then there are also these other aspects that are affected. What about the cultural exchanges? What about trying to get to know other perspectives or their realities, other contexts? So I think we need just to be careful with these like solutions, one fit for all solutions that seem to answer the problem, but that often only answer part of the problem, while the issue is more complex. So of course that makes it more difficult to find solution when you try to have this broader view. But as Eugenio said, like, yeah, it's important to consider all things.
As a last thing, has this working on this project, has it changed the way you make theater for the future? Like something that you will take away for the rest of anything you will do in the future in theater from now on?
Well, for me, it's, for example, I'm really interested in these themes, and I would really like to see how further can I work with it, maybe in some smaller things. But yes, it's influenced a lot of me. And also, I think this influence, it's not only in the way how I can use the science, but I want to collaborate with the science. That was my conclusion, and from now on I will really try to find the partners, maybe in some theaters, to see what are the position and how we can be closer in this kind of thinking and collaborating, and of course collaborating with the public. So because we have to have all these participants which are somehow equal, because we are not representing something, we should be all specific ourselves indeed, but somehow in this connection we should do something totally new and totally interesting. And I agree with Eugenio, because we are not to represent ourselves through the science or through the art, the sustainability. I think it's not that position. The position is totally different. How we can collaborate all, and how we can rethink a new project which will be follow-up of totally something new, and to show to the future generation that really this future can happen, and that we will dealing with this at best we can.
Thank you. Well, I think that is a good place to end on that note. Thank you very much for participating in this panel. I've really enjoyed watching these plays. I think it's a great project, and thank you so much for doing it and for sharing it with us. And thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Goodbye.